All right, so is it really worth it to learn C++ or Java in 2025? I mean, you hear all this buzz about Python and JavaScript and Kotlin even. It makes you wonder, especially if you're trying to figure out, okay, what to focus on. Maybe you're switching careers or starting a new project. It's a valid question.
It really is.
So we're doing a deep dive today into this blog post from Algo Academy. You know them, right? They help people prep for those brutal tech interviews. So what they say carries some weight.
For sure. And what's interesting is this post doesn't just jump into the now. It takes us back to the origins of C++ and Java. Understanding that history is key to figuring out why they've been so big.
And whether they still matter.
Okay, so back in time, the post talks about how C++ came about as an extension of C, with a focus on performance. And adding in that object-oriented programming, Java, on the other hand, that was a revolution. With its write once, run anywhere idea, platform independence, that was huge. Huge, yeah. And it's amazing how those initial goals directly connect to their impact even now. Yeah. Like C++A. When you need raw performance, nothing beats it. That's why it's still the EE thing. For game engines, high-frequency trading systems, where every millisecond counts.
Right. And Java.
Java, with its portability and robustness, it's the foundation of giant enterprise applications. The systems that power, well, pretty much everything behind the scenes.
But here's what I found really interesting. This post doesn't just say C++ and Java are for legacy systems. It highlights how they're being used in some pretty cutting-edge stuff. Even in 2025, like, did you know? C++ is used a lot in machine learning.
Yeah. It's funny, right? Because everyone talks about Python for AI and ML, but behind the scenes, often it's C++ doing the heavy lifting. Yeah. Especially in libraries like TensorFlow.
Oh, wow. So understanding C++ game could give you a much deeper understanding of how these libraries actually work. And the examples for Java, they're impressive too. It's still the dominant language. For Android development, even with Kotlin getting more popular, and for big data processing, where you're dealing with massive amounts of data, Java is often the unsung hero.
It really is. And this is the key point. We're not just talking about maintaining old code. C++ and Java are evolving. They're being used to tackle the challenges of new tech, adapting. So anyone thinking these languages are outdated, think again.
Okay. But I know what some listeners are thinking, what about those other languages? Like Python, JavaScript, Kotlin, the ones that seem to be taking over.
Good point.
Well, good news. The post talks about them too.
It does. It lays out their strengths. Python, for example, easy to use. Tons of libraries, great for beginners, super versatile.
And then there's JavaScript, the king of the web.
Oh, yeah.
But as the post points out, it's gone way beyond the web now. Mobile apps, games. It really is a multi-tool.
It is. And we can't forget Kotlin. It's kind of like Java's cooler, younger sibling. It's making waves. Yeah. Especially for Android.
So many languages, each with its strengths. I love how this post calls it being a polyglot programmer, basically. Knowing multiple languages and picking the best one for the job.
I love that analogy. Like, you wouldn't use a hammer to screw in a light bulb. Same thing with programming. Sometimes C++ or Java are the perfect fit, sometimes not.
Exactly. So even if you don't end up using C++ or Java every day, the post argues that learning them makes you a stronger programmer overall.
Absolutely. It's not just about the syntax. It's about understanding, deeply understanding, fundamental concepts like memory management, object-oriented design, things that you can apply no matter what language you're using.
And there's this one point that really hit me. The post says, by learning C++ or Java, you get a deeper understanding of how software actually interacts with hardware. It's like you're peeling back the layers, seeing the inner workings of the machine.
Right, and that level of understanding can be so valuable. Even if you mostly work with higher-level languages, it gives you this broader perspective, makes you a more effective programmer.
Totally. And let's not forget the practical benefits, especially if you're prepping for those tech interviews. Remember, this post is from Algo Academy. They're all about acing those interviews.
Right.
And guess what? C++ and Java, they're still the go-to languages for lots of those algorithm-heavy interview questions.
Yeah. Even if you're a Python whiz,
Exactly.
being comfortable with C++ or Java can give you a huge advantage.
It shows you understand the fundamentals and that you can think critically about how code works at a deeper level.
It's like having this secret weapon in your coding arsenal.
All right, so we've talked history, relevance, potential benefits. But the big question is, should you learn C++ or Java?
Well, the post says it depends. And I think that's a perfect answer. No one size fits all. It really depends on your goals, your interests.
So let's break it down. But Post suggests if you're passionate about performance-heavy stuff like game development or embedded systems, or you really want to understand how computers work at their core, then C++ might be your thing.
Makes sense.
And if you're more interested in
Large-scale enterprise systems, Android development, anything where robustness and scalability are key, then Java could be the way to go.
it could.
But here's the takeaway that really got me. The post emphasizes that both C++ and Java are constantly evolving. It's not about learning something outdated. It's about having tools that have stood the test of time and continue to shape the tech world.
Exactly. They give you this level of control and understanding. That can be incredibly valuable, even if you mainly work with other languages.
Should everyone run out and learn C++ or Java right now? Probably not. But if you want to broaden your programming horizons, deepen your understanding of core concepts, or tackle those specific challenges where these languages shine, then absolutely give them a shot.
I agree. And remember, the journey of learning is just as important as the destination. Embrace the challenges, the aha moments, the satisfaction of building something amazing with code.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Uh,
That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Until next time, happy coding.
Happy. You know, it's funny. We always get so focused on the new stuff, the
Right.
latest tech, but sometimes it's those foundational tools, the ones that have been around a while, that really make the biggest difference.
I'm with you on that. And in the case of C++ and Java, they've definitely proven themselves time and time again. It's like they've built this rock-solid foundation
Yeah.
for the entire programming world.
Exactly. But I'm curious, from your experience, have you had any times where knowing C++ or Java really came in handy, maybe in ways you didn't expect?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Early in my career, actually, I was working on this project. It involved processing tons of data, like terabytes of information.
Wow.
And Python was great for the initial exploration, prototyping. But we quickly realized we needed something more powerful, the actual processing.
That was a challenge.
It was. But luckily,
Right.
had some experience with Java. And it was the perfect tool. We were able to use its multi-threading capabilities and its libraries for data manipulation to build a system that could handle that massive amount of data.
That's awesome. A perfect example of how knowing these languages opens up possibilities. You're equipped to tackle a wider range of challenges.
Exactly. It's like having more tools in your toolbox.
Right.
And it goes beyond just the practical stuff, too. Learning these languages can change how you think about programming. You start thinking about efficiency, memory management, how your code interacts with the hardware.
Okay, so we've said that learning C++ or Java can be beneficial, even if you don't use them every day. But let's get practical. If someone's listening and thinking, all right, I'm sold, I want to learn one of these, where should they even start?
That's the question everyone has. The good news is there are so many resources out there, both online and offline, if you're into self-learning. There are amazing online courses, tutorials, interactive coding platforms where you can just dive in and start experimenting.
And don't forget about books. There are some classic textbooks on C++ and Java that have been around forever. They might not be as flashy as the online stuff, but they often go really deep.
They do. And if you prefer a more structured approach, there are boot camps, workshops, even traditional university courses. They can provide a really solid curriculum and guidance from experienced teachers.
That's true. One piece of advice I always give is to find a project that you're genuinely interested in. It could be building a simple game, creating a web app, or even just tackling some coding challenges online. Having that project makes the learning process so much more engaging.
Absolutely. When you're passionate about what you're building, the learning just flows naturally. The more you practice, the more you apply what you've learned, the more confident you become.
Remember how we talked about C++ and Java being used in those cutting-edge fields, like machine learning? I'm wondering, what about mention a specific field relevant to the listener's interest based on their persona? Where do these languages fit into that?
That's a great question. It's definitely worth exploring. Think about the challenges
Mhm.
and the tech involved. In listeners' field of interest,
Yeah, like if you're in to mention a specific subfield or application within the listener's field of interest, are there performance bottlenecks where the low-level control of C++ could help?
or maybe you're working with systems that need to be super reliable, scalable. That's where Java's strengths in building robust applications really shine.
It's amazing to think how these so-called old languages could still be shaping the future. of listeners' field of interest.
Exactly. That's where your curiosity comes in. Do some research. Dive into the documentation. Check out online communities. See how C++ and Java are being used in the areas you're passionate about.
I love that challenge. It reminds us that tech is always changing, and even languages we might think of as legacy can still have a huge impact on the most innovative fields.
I agree. Who knows? Maybe you'll discover that C++ or Java could be your secret weapon for breaking new ground in listeners' field of interest.
All right, so we've covered a lot. History, relevance, career advantages, even challenged you to think about how these languages fit into your own work. But before we wrap up, there's one more thing I want to touch on.
Go ahead.
We've talked a lot about the technical side, but I think it's important to talk about the human element too.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Well, learning a new programming language can be tough, even frustrating sometimes. It takes time, dedication, and a willingness to embrace those moments when you feel completely lost.
I think we've all been there. Lost in a sea of code and error messages. It's part of the journey.
It is. That's where I think it's so important to have a growth mindset when learning these languages.
On a growth mindset.
Yeah, it's about embracing those challenges
Yeah.
and seeing them as opportunities
Yes.
to learn and grow. It's about understanding. You don't have to be an expert right away. It's okay to make mistakes.
Oh, that it's about the journey, not just the destination. Enjoying the process of learning.
Exactly. And celebrating those small wins, like finally understanding a tricky concept or fixing a bug. And having a supportive community can make a huge difference. Online forums, meetups, even just a few friends who are also learning. Sharing your struggles and successes makes the journey a lot more fun.
So true. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. There are tons of resources to help you. Tutorials, coding boot camps, even mentorship programs.
And don't be afraid to ask for help. The programming community is amazing. People are always willing to help.
Okay, so we've talked technical aspects, career benefits, even the human side of things. I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot today.
We have. And before we go, I want to leave you with one last thought. We've said that these languages can be valuable tools, and they can deepen your understanding of programming. But I think learning C++ or Java can also be a journey of self-discovery.
I like that. It's about pushing yourself, expanding your comfort zone, discovering new ways to think and solve problems.
Exactly. Who knows? Maybe while learning these languages, you'll find hidden talents, passions you never knew you had. Maybe you'll discover a love for building high-performance systems, or you'll be drawn to mobile app development. The possibilities are endless.
So as we wrap up, embrace the challenge, dive in with curiosity, and see where this journey takes you.
And remember, whether you become a C++ or a Java expert, or just gain a new appreciation for these languages, the most important thing is to enjoy learning and never stop exploring the world of code.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's all the time we have. Until next time. Happy coding. So as we wrap up our deep dive into C++ and Java in 2025, I think it's safe to say they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Definitely not. They're more than just languages.
Right.
They represent this.
Yeah.
Huge history of innovation, problem solving, and a really deep understanding of how software works at the most fundamental level.
And it's amazing how they keep evolving.
Yeah.
They're not stuck in the past.
Not at all.
They adapt to new challenges and find their place in those cutting-edge fields, like we were talking about.
It really shows how versatile they are and the power they give to developers.
One big takeaway for me is that learning never stops in programming.
Especially in tech.
Right.
There's always something new, a new language, a new way to solve a problem.
That's what makes it so exciting.
It really is a constant journey of discovery.
And I think C++ and Java, even though some people see them as older, they offer a really unique path.
They do.
They give you that solid foundation, that deep understanding of the core concepts that you can use in any kind of programming.
Absolutely.
So, seasoned developer or just starting out, I think there's something to be gained from exploring these languages.
Even if you don't end up using them every day, that knowledge, those problem-solving skills, they make you a better programmer, more adaptable.
Couldn't agree more. That's a perfect way to wrap things up.
It's been a great deep dive.
It has.
Always enjoy these conversations.
Me too. Until next time, everyone, happy coding.